Howdy folks, it's Zach, and welcome back to my Star Wars Tips and Tricks section, and today we're doing another episode of Real Talk with Real Gamers. With me as always are my co-hosts Penny and Xenoff. What's up, guys?
Hey.
And with us again for a second time is our very special beta playing guest, Szadek. What's going on, man?
Not much, how you doing?
We're good. So tonight, guys, if you are coming into this show and you haven't been keeping up with the changes for Star Wars: The Old Republic, Knights of the Eternal Throne is coming out very shortly, and with it are coming a whole slew of changes. So tonight, we're talking about what has been released for each of the individual classes. Now, all four of us who are in this channel right now have all confessed to each other between episodes that none of us really looked through all the changes. We kind of just looked at the changes for the classes like we play the most, and we're coming at it kind of from that perspective. So if you guys are sitting there and you're going like, but all I ever play is my Jedi Shadow and Infiltration Spec, why didn't you talk about that? Well, I'm sorry, I don't actually play Shadow and Infiltration Spec. I wasn't really paying attention. I'm just going to confess that. I'm just going to be real, okay? This is this is a time to be real. But I do play snipers as my main. Xenoff plays a lot of Marauders and Sith, and Penny obviously is a Merc healer extraordinaire. And actually, Szadek, what's actually your main in the game?
My specialty is Sorcerer and Sage DPS,
but
I second main a Marauder, and I do tank from time to time.
Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rolling here. So obviously, Musco and the dev team, they just released that there's going to be a whole bunch of class changes. Now, also, this comes with the proviso that these are the ones we know about. Now, I don't want to put Szadek in a bad position, but he has been playing the beta, so he may have seen more than just as what has been released. And there's also time between now and release where things may still change. What we are going off of is basically what has been released thus far. And let me just get some first impressions, guys. Szadek, let's start with you because you've actually played in the beta. What have your impressions been of the changes so far to Sage and Sork as your mains?
Well, what kind of criteria are you looking for in the question? Because there hasn't actually been many new changes. There are some utility changes that swapped around, and a couple new gimmicks, but for the most part, it's still core the same playstyle.
And found the answer to the question you have. that's exactly it. There's no right or wrong answer here. We're just looking for opinions. So, so for me, I looked at Sniper. I kind of had the same reaction you did, Szadek. I haven't actually played it yet, but it really didn't look like they changed my character too much. They just really just sort of tweaked what was already there. So I don't have like Overload Shot anymore. But I never used Overload Shot anymore, anyway. And unless you were, an engineering spec, and for God only knows what reason, you wanted 3 free Overload Shots as you got out of cover, then that was it. That was like the only time you'd ever use it, if that. And most of the time we were just, throwing out plasma bombs. So I didn't see a whole lot there. But then, Penny, I think you noticed, there was a bunch of stuff from Merc that is getting tweaked.
Yep, Sorks. I play both Sork and Merc healers. So they are taking away a few things for the Merc. Some of it is DPS, which, one of it's flamethrower. I think the community is kind of in shock that they're taking that away in general, because that's one that both DPS and healers had. And there was no real reason to take it away. It's not a huge hitting DPS move. It's not game breaking. It was good for ads. I will say, Death and Above, Flame Sweep, or Flamethrower, and you're good. You get two mercs doing that. It's pretty good. And then I will say, they do have the new utilities. They're trying to make mercs and pyrotechs different, which I can understand.
Yeah.
Some of them, I do like the tag and bag, which is hindering the target with Electronet. As a healer, I try to throw Electronet off cooldown unless I specifically need it for a fight, like Calfea's Nim.
Yeah.
Because it's just added DPS,
right.
And it's not really hindering me or anything.
Instant cast, point and click, fire and forget. Yeah.
Yes.
If I may,
go
just
for it.
add something, just a little something as to why they did what they did in that regard. It's not so much that they're trying to differentiate the classes; they're trying to make a clear line that this is a ranged character versus this is a melee character. So anything that was close range, except for say knockbacks or something, has been removed from ranged classes. So like sorcerers don't have their melee attacks anymore. Ranged healers or whatever don't have their up close abilities anymore. There's no rocket punch. There's no stock strike for the Merc and Commando classes. Anything that was close range has been taken away and reworked towards their melee counterparts.
Yeah, it feels a little weird. Have you had a chance to kind of play with it? A mercenary in the beta, and have you had any experience like with what that felt like?
I did take my commando over, to kind of parse around with it and see what it's at. To be entirely honest, those melee abilities or up-close abilities were just very situational only. So honestly, from like a raid perspective, I didn't see any like real hindrance to it.
Okay, that's fair. And then, have you had a chance to try out any of the new, utilities for? Because man, I got to tell you, I looked at Mercenary, and we were. By the way, for my audience, we were talking before the show a little bit, and I was, I don't know, is ragging on the Mercenary? Is that really the right term? Let's just say the jealousy monster reared its ugly head, and I was looking at some of the new utilities that the Mercenary is getting. And I was really jealous, because normally I play a sniper, and obviously a sniper only really has two options when he's in a bad spot. Is to toughen up, and that's like hunker down, bunker, like do something like that, like get tougher, and then shoot harder. Like that's really all you've got, as far as, or like evade, escape. We've got a lot of cool utilities, but I was looking at the Mercenary, and all of a sudden they had these two new, trauma regulators, which, while your energy shield is active, you stack up trauma regulators, and each time you receive direct damage, this stacks up 15 times, and when the energy shield expires, you get, each stack heals you for 5% of your health. And I was like, so 15 stacks times 5% equaled, oh my freaking god. Like, that's like the math in my head. I didn't even, like, do it the whole way, and I was thinking, like, so that sounds overpowered as hell, and I got a little jealous, because that also goes, now they also have a new activatable move, it sounds like, called Responsive Safeguards, which it absorbs all single target damage, and reflects 50% of it, and heals you for 5% of your health each time an attack is absorbed. I was looking at that and thinking, like, this is Saber Reflect on steroids, because it's not just reflecting damage, it's healing you for it. And as a non-tank, I was like, my god, that's an incredible defensive move. And then, like, I looked at Shadows, and Shadows lost Spacewalk. That was...
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't feel like everybody kind of benefited from the awesome stick this time around. What did you guys think when you were kind of looking over the patch notes?
I mean, I really have to see it live. Unlike, Szadek and stuff, I haven't had a chance to play on the PTS. So I'm really kind of interested to see, like, how the healing changes come into play. I hear operatives are going to have not really a choice, maybe, but, like, depending on what utilities they pick, they can be more of a burst healer or a hot healer, which is going to be super OP. And then, I'm really kind of intrigued to see, like, Marauders. They no longer have a casted Ravage. Like, I want to see what that looks like.
Yeah, and Xenoph, you're kind of like a, I don't want to say prodigy, but no, kind of a Marauder prodigy.
Oh, stop! Oh, stop it!
What? Like you know more about Marauder rotations than you've forgotten more than I've ever learned. What would you feel like that would feel like as far as your DPS if you didn't have to stand in one place for, Ravage? Now it's just instant cast. It's just done. Like
the only thing I can think about when I first saw that change is, oh my god, I can kite Bestia again.
Oh yeah!
Or I can kite Raptus. I'm like,
My God.
oh, I can kite Raptus on a Marauder. For not having to channel Ravage, this is something that most Marauders have been crying for a while.
Yeah.
Not so much to lose the channel on it, but to be able to do it while moving, which we're getting essentially. But I think I'm in the same boat as Penny. I'll have to really try it on live, but it sounds like it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Based on some of the numbers that are being put out, Marauders are not top dog anymore. And I'm willing to bet part of that is, well, you can do anything you want while you're moving now, so we're going to nerf your damage a bit.
Yeah.
And to which I'm fine with. I'll adapt. I'll get around it. I'll make it work best as I can. But yeah, I just got to see what it's like on live.
Yeah.
We'll just have to go from there.
Yeah. There's another new Sentinel and Marauder ability. The Sentinel version's called Lance, only for combat, but which is, oh Jesus, what do they call that on Marauders?
It's actually the new Gore. Gore is getting moved to something else, and they renamed whatever Gore was. I can't think of what it's
Maim,
called.
I think it was. Maim, isn't it?
That sounds about right.
Okay. Well,
I think that might be it.
Lance, apparently high damage ability that hinders the movement of your enemy, so it slows them down, interestingly enough, and reduces their armor. And I was like, this is, I believe, if I remember right, that spec always kind of had, some armor penetration mechanics in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not exactly sure like how this is a new thing.
From the way it sounds, is there's two separate abilities now. There is the Gore that we have now, which is 100% armor penetration.
Uh-huh.
That apparently has gotten renamed to Maim or whatever it might be. I'm not sure off the top of my head. And then Gore became this high damage ability that's a slow now.
Oh.
So I'm interested to see, because I've also heard because Ravage isn't a channel anymore, you can get more abilities into a Gore window. So I'm like, how is this all going to work? Or do I use this first? How much damage is this new ability going to do? Because it says high damage, so I'm like, more than Devastating Blast, less than, where is it going to fit in here? Where do I put it?
Yeah.
What do I do with my hands?
Yeah.
We'll just... I'm very excited to see how it plays out, though.
My interpretation of, just the way it's sounding that you guys are describing it, I haven't completely read or memorized the whole details and everything, but I think Gore still does what it used to do, completely and fully gives you the 100% armor pen, and that's all it did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
100% armor pen for like 3 seconds.
Yeah. So Maim seems like it's a sunder, like what jugs and tanks have. It's just a global armor reduction.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Also does high damage.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to shift gears into Gunslinger a little bit. With Gunslingers, I feel like they didn't completely change it. I liked some of the changes that they made, and once you said it's like, hey, if you're melee, you're melee. If you're ranged, you're ranged. All right, then some of these changes make a lot of sense, because for Gunslingers, taking away Dirty Kick, which I never used, and giving me a ranged version of it called Below the Belt, which lets me stun a guy from at least 10 meters away, I can dig that. And then the thing that kind of made me laugh is a little bit that they're giving us a new utility called Opportunity Knocks, and all of you guys who've rated have probably yelled at your Gunslingers for not using Diversion enough. Diversion is basically like a gas canister, and in a weird way, it was kind of like giving a Gunslinger a way to give your tanks an extra cooldown, where it would reduce everybody's accuracy by 45% inside the cloud, and that's a lot, especially if they're really swarmed. But now you can take a utility called Opportunity Knocks, and for every target initially affected beyond the first, Diversion grants a charge of Opportunity Knocks, increasing armor penetration by 10% per charge.
Oh.
This effect lasts 8 seconds. And what was funny to me is that I was like, wow, this is so cool. Like, if you're in a raid group, that would really help. But yet the game feels like it's getting away from large group content. And I was like, and the funniest part for me, too, is that they're talking about the story mode. They're like, you can't just use sweeping gunfire anymore. And I'm like, unless it's with diversion, because then I think you're going to be spamming it every chance you get, as long as you took Opportunity Knocks. And so I feel like that's kind of a cool change. And that's something that I was like, all right, cool. Like, maybe I don't get to heal in place a whole lot, but I get a huge damage buff if I'm helping out a tank with like a gigantic group of guys.
Knowing that, I didn't actually know that was a thing, and with that, I'm interested to see how something like Nightmare Dreadguards is going to play out, or Warlords.
Yeah.
I believe the target has to be able to be affected by it, and doesn't the tooltip for diversion say it doesn't work on bosses?
Yeah, never mind then.
But the bosses with ads, I think they'll still work.
Draxus then.
Oh yeah.
Also,
lifesaver on Draxus.
Also, gunslingers and snipers. I think it's a utility. When you pop ballistic shield, you get like 20% increased damage or something for like the duration of it.
It's only 5%. So yeah, it's called Shield Reserve on a gunslinger anyway. Scram Field is activated. You gain a charge of Shield Reserve for each enemy inside of your Scram Field, up to 4. This effect lasts 20 seconds, and each charge gives you damage reduction by 5%. So if there's 20% less in damage on top of the 20% you're probably already getting, that's really nice. That means while ballistic shield's up, you're getting 40% as long as there's ads inside of it. And then also you heal for 3% of your maximum health every second, and you're immune from being pulled or knocked back. The thing is, 3% of your maximum health, that's just like if you had stabilizers and you were squatting down. That's not a huge heal. It's really the nice part about that, really, though, is that your damage reduction's just even better. So if you're in that moment, like what was it? Temple of Sacrifice, big AoE room, the 3, what are they called? I can't remember.
Commanders.
Revenant Commanders.
Yeah, the Revenant Commanders.
Yeah.
So, like, at the end of there, where it's just like a melee hodgepodge of, oh my god, then, popping your shield there, as the gunslinger, you become, like, the last man standing, like, the hardest guy to kill there.
Or, like, something on, like, Council Burn phase, even.
Yeah.
That would be really good for.
Exactly.
And,
all right. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Veering off topic a little, I'm sort of a little off topic, but I'm interested to see what they're doing with raid damage, if they're adding all of these, like, damage reduction utilities.
Yeah. Well, I already know that and this is just from what they've already stated, since they're even letting you do harder story mode version, or harder modes of the story, and those things hit like a fucking truck. I'm sorry, I don't mean to swear on my channel, guys, but oh my god, even Musco, who was playing it at like level 66 as a dev, showing the world, was getting hit like one strong type bad guy, the guys with the silver stars over their head, hit him down to like in 3 hits, like for half his health. It was ridiculous.
Wow. Nice global you in 3 hits on Master.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah, and so I kind of feel like all these extra defensives kind of have a place there. But on that note, unfortunately, we do have to bring this episode to a close as well. For my audience out there, thank you guys so much for watching my show. I really appreciate it. Obviously, we didn't get to talk about all the changes for all the different character classes. So, in the comment area below, go ahead and put down what you think about the changes to your favorite class. I'll have a link in the body of this to go ahead and see what those changes are on the Star Wars website, so you can see what's been posted so far. And for Real Talk with Real Gamers, I'm Zach, and we'll see you next time.